I had always had a little, fascination with domains. I wanted raysworld.com, which is like Wayne's World at the time, something
yeah.
like that. And I had called Network Solutions to try and figure out how to acquire the name, because actually I previously called the owner, the guy named Ray, I think in Pennsylvania, and he said, "Oh, I'm not gonna renew it. You can just go grab it because I'm using this other name." And when the name came up for when the expiration date came up, I tried to register it but couldn't, and that's when I started calling Network Solutions, and they said, "Well, just keep trying. We can't tell you exactly when it's going to be available, but just keep trying." And so I was trying and trying and trying, and being obsessive compulsive, that became a problem for me. So I wrote a little script to just go ahead and ping, actually to check the Whois record and see if there was any change in the Whois record, and if so, send me back a notice. And then several months later, I was able to get the name because I knew that it became available through this process. And everyone that I told the story to, because I have a lot of entrepreneurial friends and business people, it seemed like everybody had a name they wanted, and they would tell me, "Hey, can you do the same thing for this name or that name?" So we began to build a database of desired names. And it was kind of in 2000 or so where I ended up partnering with a friend in Oregon and selling my company in New York, selling my home, moving to Oregon, decided to
big step,
do the thing together. And that became Snap Names. So that's kind of how I got into the industry. ICANN opened this current round in 2012. So there was a 3-month window between January and April 2012 where people could apply for new extensions.
Right.
And at that time, we applied for, originally, I really wanted to apply for .wiki because I love wikis. And through ICANN Wiki, we were pretty connected with the internet space. And so we kind of muddled through the application guidebook, and in that process said, "Wow, this is really a lot of work to apply. Maybe we should apply for a few more." And we ended up applying for 10 in total.
Oh, wow.
So that included .art, .design, .style, photography, a few others, and .gay as well. And what ended up happening was most of them ended up going to private auction because there were just multiple applicants, and some we won, some we lost. But .gay had 4 applicants, one of which was .gay LLC. They're actually, I know it's confusing because the name of their company was also .gay, but they applied under the community priority. They applied basically saying that they represent the community and should be treated differently. So ICANN has a process in which they evaluate these applications that are called community applications. And if they're found to represent the community, then that applicant gets awarded the TLD.
Sure.
And if not, then they go back into the pool of open applicants, and it gets dealt with either with a private auction or ultimately an ICANN auction. .gay turned out to be, it went through the process for a long time because there was a feeling, I think they applied, didn't get approved, applied again, and there was reconsideration requests, and it just took a long time to go through the ICANN process, 5 or 6 years, something like that.
Wow, yeah, that is a long.
Right. So we didn't actually get to release .gay until 2020. So,
okay.
Yep. And then I
Wow.
went through, sunrise and general availability, et cetera. And so
Yeah.
we've had it for, a year and a half, something like that. It is thought, this is one of the things, one of the reasons why it was kind of an issue, because the LGBTQ plus community is the more general audience, but G is obviously the G in that acronym.
Right.
So we feel it works for anyone in that community. I think it's been received well. I think that it's a little different than like a professional TLD. So if you have, like we had dot design, and that was clearly for people who would identify as designers, but mostly small businesses and things. And the same would be true for like dot law or dot dental or something like that. Gay is more of an identity TLD. So we have more personal usage. We have usage by companies that want to showcase what they're doing in the space, some celebrities, some gay organizations. So it's kind of more of a community-ish TLD. We ended up, two were not contested. So dot inc, INK was not contested, and dot wiki was not contested.
Oh, okay, nice.
So
Then you got the one you wanted then, right?
Yeah, we got those at the cost of application, which is really, really great. We ended up going to auction and winning on dot design, which was great. And we did not win on dot art, dot blog, dot style, dot LLC, dot group, and dot photography. Hope I got them all. And
sounds like that'd be a lot of competition around those.
Yeah, those are all pretty well contested. And then dot gay ended up in this kind of longer ICANN process. And then we also participated in the UNR auction earlier this year. So we're going to, at some point, when we can get the assignment through the ICANN process, have dot tattoo too. We were excited because TLDs in the new round, as a new TLD operator, you get to say how you want the TLD sold and managed. And you can only really do that at one moment in time, which is when you launch it. Because if an existing TLD can't go back and say, well, now we're going to introduce these new
change the rules, right?
New rules, right? And we wanted to really support the community, so we said, what are the things that are most important? Obviously, a financial give back is obvious, and we said we have to do something there that is substantial enough that it's meaningful, and at the same time allows us to operate the TLD, without having to operate it in the red. And that's a little guesswork, because you don't really know how many names you're going to sell. But we said, let's do 20% off the top. So not some large calculation coming down to net income,
right?
With math that we create, but just said for every dollar of new registration revenue, we're going to give 20 cents back. So that was one piece of the equation, but probably the more important piece was that we wanted the TLD to be just a great safe space. So if you go to a name that ends in .gay, you don't want to be accosted with something that is going to be painful or harmful in some way to the LGBTQ plus community. So we said, okay, we're going to tell people up front that those are the rules. So if you're planning to do something that would be harmful to the community, then go do it on a different TLD. We can't stop you from doing what you're going to do, but we can make that the rules in the .gay space. And so we said right up front, this, the gay rights protection program means that the content on the site and the domain name itself can't be harmful to the community. And if it is, we're going to take it down. And of course, we can't proactively see what everyone's doing every day.
Right.
But sometimes it's obvious. Other times people report it to us. We take the sites down. And I think that is fantastic, because there's no other piece of the internet that works this way. And
Right.
yeah, so I think it's first of its kind, and we feel super proud of creating this safer space.
Yeah.
And that's also why we chose Centerlink as one of our two beneficiaries, is because they do safe spaces in the physical world or in real life, and we think that's very parallel to what we're trying to do in the virtual world. We've had a number of sites reported to us. We've had some that you can see in the registration process. Sometimes the name itself uses the word or it has a phrase that is clearly not well intended.
Right.
Other times it's not so clear. So sometimes people will report something and say, well, hey, this name was registered, and I don't know, like it could be something fun like that's so.gay.
Right.
Well, you don't really know how it's going to be used until someone puts content on it. So we're like, well, hey, but that might be a great site. I think there are some great names. I think like these, kind of phrase names are great. And I think that you do have to use the names though. Like our goal is to get people to really use the names. So I think that maybe getting ahead of common first names, like for .design, it was all about last names. Because if you think about it, like, let's say you're John Smith and you're a jewelry designer, Smith.design would be perfect. John at Smith.design. Last names seem to, work for businesses. I think for .gay, first names are more important. So I would, I think first names are great. Geographical names. So people wanting to create resources. So maybe it's the name of a country or area, Tribeca, or Greece or whatever. .gay, I think are great opportunities as well. Yeah, I had a mentor who was one of the founders of YEO, the Young Entrepreneurs Organization. And I joined a program of his called Birthing of Giants. His name is Vern Harnish. He's been just, he works with a lot of entrepreneurs and is great for not only advice, but sometimes a shoulder to cry on. The other one is my accountant, who I've worked with. I think I'm going on 38 years or something. Wow. In my first company, I wrote accounting software for architects and engineers, and I didn't have any kind of accounting background to start with, but he gave me a really clear explanation of debits, credits, journals, ledgers. And he said, these are the basics, and everything else hangs on these 5 rules, Right. So you just have to know these few things. And that allowed me to write some accounting software, which eventually became the software that like 2,500 architectural and engineering firms used, and we had over 100 people supporting that product. So his fundamentals were fantastic, and he still gives me great advice today as well. So we have the 4 extensions: .gay, .inc. We don't actually have 4, excuse me. We don't have, tattoo hasn't been assigned yet, but hopefully that'll be shortly, and then wiki. But of those 4, .gay is our largest focus by far, because it's the TLD where we think it has a broader appeal, but also it's more impactful. and it's really fun and great to work on for that reason. We also have a subsidiary company called Porkbun, which is a registrar, and that's been the other main focus for us, as we built a registrar primarily to support originally the sales of Dot Design and our other TLDs. We just wanted kind of a more seamless solution for when we went to trade shows or did promotions and things, but that's turned into more of a general purpose registrar. It's got a very fun kind of vibe and motif. It's a low cost registrar, so we sell over 500 extensions, and I think we're pretty much cheaper than almost everybody. But we do that along with like SSL certificates are always free. They're with every single name. Whois privacy is always free. And also the interface is, I think, quite clean and easy to use. It's kind of how we envisioned a registrar that we'd want to use. And I worked with a developer who I've known for a long time, Owen, on our team. He's amazing. And, we had this idea, let's go build a registrar that we would want to use. So we tried to make it as the UI as functional as possible. If you want an auth code because you need to transfer your name somewhere or to someone else, you push the button, you see the auth code. You don't get an email back, and things like that don't make any sense, right?
Right.
So just try to make it as simple as possible, and also have a little fun with it. So registering or renewing a domain name is, for most people, something you don't do all the time. It's like title insurance. You do it once in a while when you get a new home. So it's some level of brain damage for a lot of people. And we said, let's make it fun. Let's try and make that experience, leave the site with a good feeling. So you don't want to leave the site feeling like you were upsold. So we try to put as few upsells unless they're really necessary or helpful. You don't want to feel like you paid more than you should have. You say, I'm at a good registrar. I don't want to find out later that it was half price somewhere else, right?
Yep.
And then maybe leave you with a fun note here and there.
Yeah.
Maybe like a little love note on the way out or on the way in.
Nice.
So I think people like it. I mean, we have fantastic reviews. I think bar none, we're, the most well-reviewed registrar, and every single one of our reviews are 100% legit. We've no reviews ever been purchased or tampered with or anything like that. It was good timing for us too, because Let's Encrypt was just kind of becoming available at the time, and we jumped on it super early, and we just built it in, so it's like it's in the water, it's automatically there. And we were never used to getting $200 a year or whatever for SSL certs. So for us, it wasn't like we're going to give up a revenue stream. We never made anything from it. We've never made a penny from SSL from day one or from Whois privacy. Yeah. So we just try to structure our business around that. And it's been 10 years. In fact, I'm going to be doing a panel discussion, I think, during the ICANN prep week for the 10-year anniversary. And it has been a really interesting journey for all of us in the industry, figuring out new models, like .gay, I think, is just a fantastic, perfect example of what a new TLD should be and how you can implement a new model. But similarly, there's been a lot of experimentation around price. You've got these really cheap TLDs, you've got these really expensive TLDs, you've got TLDs that renew differently than others, and now you've got all this sub-pro discussion to try and figure out what the next round should look like. And I think because so many new extensions were released, maybe there was a little less pressure. But I think everyone was expecting that to happen earlier, and now it's still the proverbial, minimum of 2 years away, and that keeps getting pushed forward. So there's that. Then you've got all the, this more alternate route stuff going on with the blockchain domains like Handshake, which we think are pretty interesting as well, despite the fact that it's always, been the whole question about alternate routes breaking the internet. So yeah, a lot of exciting stuff happening. Some great work's happening over at ICANN Wiki, and there's some the folks there are digging in on things like DIDP and the subpro, subsequent procedures, IRP, that type of stuff. So, if you want to see a little more of the inner workings of the ICANN process, either A, go check it out, B, if you want to roll your sleeves up and help us, that would be super fantastic as well.